fresh plugs put in today. Came in the mail a couple days ago from our good friends ZoysiaPlug.com. Keeping them good and watered. Got 100 of them. I think it was like 60 bucks, 50 or 60 bucks or something after shipping for 2 times 50. Lawn's kind of shaggy right now. These bald spots are where we sprayed Roundup before the Zoysia woke up in the early spring. We Rounduped everything that was green. There was all these Johnson grass clumps in the middle, and they've mostly closed up now. They were a lot more prominent a month ago. So as you can see, we're fully green. I love the front yard. It's looking great. It's not perfect. There's clovers, but you know, hopefully in another year or two we'll be seeing less and less of that. Other side of the driveway, this area has always been a little stronger than the main part of the front yard. Never had to do much of anything over here, pull a few weeds, rarely. That is, I think it's because my neighbor on this side, they have the beautiful sod grass. There's not all the weeds that migrate over. It's great. The only problem is it doesn't go back very far. It doesn't even go as far as the house. So you see we got some holes drilled. We're going to be plugging today, and we're going to push the front line back. This clump has been here for a couple of years. Hey Momo, you gonna help? Thank you. Thank you. So this over here on the other side of the driveway, everything is geographically named after Game of Thrones geography. This is the north as a whole, and that clump has been known as the king beyond the wall. So now the north and the wildlings are all one happy family, and we're going to be pushing that boundary out back, and hopefully with the plugs I have we can reach the house. I'd like to go a little further. We got room. We've been the ground over here is so hard packed from where I've kept I've Rounduped it for like 3 years now, hoping that the Zoysia would spread, and it's kind of a vicious cycle. The ground is so hard because there's no vegetation, and the vegetation has a hard time spreading because the ground's so hard. So that's where the drill comes in handy. Gonna get busy on that. Like for example, this clump has been here, I know, like a good 2 years. It started out as a strip that I pulled from the border of the flower bed. This is not something that I paid for. I dug it out with a spade, and it's been very slow, but it's established, it's healthy, and it will spread. It's just taking some time. That's all good. We don't complain about that. It's healthy. That's what's important. This is on another topic. This is I in my previous video, this stuff right here is called nutsedge. I didn't know that last time. It's a weed, it's a common weed called nutsedge. I thought it was some grass that had been seeded. It's not. It's nutsedge. And it's funny, I paid a company to come out here. They're called, I'm not gonna throw the name under the bus, but because they're probably no worse than anyone else, but I paid a lawn company to, like, an annual lump sum. They're supposed to like come out here regularly and spray, and there would be no weeds, and it's been really a big disappointment because I do all that stuff myself. I just thought maybe I'd have an expert work on it and it would free me up to focus on the Zoysia, but it's been a bust because you can see like there's no shortage of weeds anywhere. It was a lot of money too. It was like over $400 for the year, and I've got all the chemicals to do it myself. I thought in my head that maybe they know something I don't, and that has not been the case. So I won't be doing that next year. So I can show you some of my chemicals real quick. I've had a few questions about what kind of chemicals I use. This is Shredder 2,4-D. I mix like 1 or 2 ounces to a gallon. It's just for broadleaf, like dandelions and stuff. The good thing about it is it doesn't kill grass if you mix it right. Shredder 2,4-D. I bought it at Southern States. Probably a regional thing. What's this one? Ow! That's Buccaneers Plus. That is generic Roundup. And by generic, I just mean it's not Monsanto. It's every bit as good. What do they call it? Glyphosate. Yes. Every bit as good as Roundup. And it's, again, 1 or 2 ounces per gallon. But I don't use the 2,4-D anymore. I got another one that does like all that, and it does everything that 2,4-D does and more. Where did that one go? Yeah, this is, I think it's this. It's a post-emergent crabgrass. I don't use it all that much. I should be using it a little more. It's supposed to kill nutsedge, crabgrass, post-emergent, and broadleaf. And it won't kill grass if you mix it properly. So I like this more than the 2,4-D, and I got like a lifetime supply of the 2,4-D. I don't know what to do with it. Yeah. And for fertilizer, I use, this is a generic 19 fertilizer. Nothing fancy. It's a general purpose fertilizer. I don't know if that's optimal or not. And there's some lime that I do too. I've never done any soil testing. Yep, and so that's what I use as far as products, and that's my sod plugger right there. Yeah, that's all I can think of right now. Go take a look at the backyard real quick. Don't want to spend too much time on the backyard because nothing really has happened. I just got this one big spot and it's doing its thing slowly but surely. It has not been cut this year. Speaking of been cut, this is the backyard and it's mostly Johnson grass, and you can kind of see how tall it is compared to the front, which they were both mowed at the same time. And the Zoysia is growing rapidly right now. It normally doesn't grow as fast as what it's growing right now. That's just, you know, that early spring rush. It won't be like that all year. It still grows very slowly compared to anything else. You may ask, why do I own a sod plugger and still order plugs? I could easily take my own plugs from up here and put them in wherever I want in the back or whatever. Why do I have a sod plugger? I don't know. I don't know, because I worked so hard for so long on this front yard to get it where it is, and I just can't hardly bring myself to take a plug from it and scar it, you know. So it's a small price to pay for me to support the company that has been good to me, and give them another $60 and get these trays and leave my beautiful front yard intact. Seems like the win-win. So this is the property line where that rock is by the road, and you can see where the Zoysia has moved in on the neighbor's lawn. If I was them, I would be like, you know, helping it spread. They have 2 little toddler twins. Yeah, the grass is the last thing on their mind. They're great people, but you know, they're not afflicted with the madness like I am, apparently. That's okay. This is one of my favorite spots to look at. I remember when the Zoysia came around the rock, it was exciting. Now it's fully established on the other side of the rock, and I like to come over here and pick some of their weeds out from time to time. Help my neighbor out. They have no idea. Like all the Zoysia videos over the years, I don't think I've ever showed planting a plug. I don't know why, that's weird, isn't it? Other than the sod plug thing that I did a year or two ago. So let's just plant a few plugs. Join me if you will. Not much to it. I got this auger drill bit thing here. Home Depot, 15 bucks. Oh my God, can't imagine doing it without this. I could use the sod plugger, but this is way easier. Sometimes you hit something hard and you gotta stop drilling and just pull it up. Do one more right quick. So easy. Okay. I like to grab them from the corners first because the corners dry out. So I don't plan on getting all these in the ground today. And it's always a challenge keeping them healthy in the trays out in the sun. You gotta water them like twice a day. So I grab the corners first, and that way it just seems to hold moisture a little better that way. So here we go. Got a nice little muddy hole. Oh yeah. Happy plug. You know, this is, I don't know if putting one right here in the middle of all this established Zoysia is really necessary. I mean, eventually it would take over, but to me, it's just kind of ridiculous that I've had this great Zoysia up here for so long and still have only got this far towards the house. So I'm just gonna attack that problem directly and just put a few plugs here, because why not speed the process up a little bit. Don't need to whatsoever, but today we're just having fun. Let's do one more. Same thing right here. You would have thought, as fast as this stuff spreads in some places, it's amazing how slow it spreads in other places. It's all good though, because once it gets established, it's not going anywhere, and it's gonna spread. Just can take some time depending on things. So satisfying. Break up these clumps a little bit, and then the last step, of course, you gotta get these good and wet, because they'll dry out without direct good contact to the soil. Sorry if the camera angle sucks. It's so bright out here I can't actually see the screen, so I'm doing the best I can. Yep, so that's 2 in the ground. Like 15 more to go. Good fun. It's supposed to rain later. Whew. And maybe I like to mow before it rains too. Lovely day. Pin 4. Yeah, I forgot to mention this part up here that spreads so slow. It's been like that all along the driveway, because the driveway is underneath the driveway is cavernous, and it's just so hard to water up here. All the water just gets sucked up under the driveway. That's a big part of the reason I think why we have a hard time spreading up here. It's always dry, very dry. And I rarely water over on this side of the driveway because it's just less convenient. I'm gonna have to water these new plugs, at least for 2 weeks, you know. Gonna have to be watering over here. And so I've spent the last few hours getting all my hoses mended up and all my attachments ready. It's a long run, bring the water from the other side of the house, and that's been a big part of my work today is this hose maintenance. I got one that needs to be replaced. Speaking of hose maintenance, I'll go ahead and recommend this thing. It's called a 0G from Walmart. I think it's a 50-foot. It's super dexterous, tactile. I don't know what you want to call it. Flexible. It's almost like those water hoses that you see on TV. They're expandable. This one doesn't expand, but it is cloth and it's very soft. It does everything that I liked about the water hose, but it lasts a lot longer. I've had this one for is it 2 or 3 years? Father's Day, at least 2 years ago. It's still doing great. So I cannot complain about that. The water hose, that's good for a year if you're lucky. It's basically like a 50-foot condom with cloth wrapped around it. This one is a lot tougher. So if it failed right now, I would still be happy with it just because of how convenient it is. But I'd like to see how long it goes. Fast forward 20, 30 minutes later, whatever, we got all our hose filled. Might be all I do today. I might do a little more, but God, I'm gonna regret not putting sunscreen on. Oh, this is not ginger weather. So yeah, those are all the pretty plugs. They're happy. Gonna have to be watering over here. But yeah, we're gonna round up this video and maybe round up this series. This could be the last Zoysia video I do. I don't know. There seems like there's less and less to show and talk about every time. Yeah, pretty much we've won the war. There's still a few little firefights going on, but the war of the front yard is pretty much done. And just some, I'm not saying it's my last one. I'm just saying it could be. I'll probably do more as long as there's work to be done, as long as people are interested in hearing about it, seeing it. And no reason I can't do a quick update now and again, but I don't know, just in case, some closing thoughts. What a journey it's been, and how I'm just so happy with it all the time, and just so much work fighting these weeds. And you know, it's easy to get angry at the weeds, hate them, the Johnson grass and everything. And maybe it's worth going back and remembering that these, what we call weeds, are just native plant species, and they're doing what they've done for millions of years. They've perfectly evolved to dominate this environment. And what we're doing is essentially terraforming, bringing in a foreign plant and fundamentally changing the ecosystem of the lawn. It's not like flipping a light switch. There's no quick, easy way of doing it, I don't think. I mean, you can pay someone to do it. That's quick and easy, but not cheap. There was a guy can't remember his username, but he was saying that he spent like 11 grand getting his front yard sodded, which is, I think he said it's like 8,000 square feet or something. Pretty, it's like, yeah, so probably 10 times bigger than my front yard, but 11 grand. Wow. I've spent about, I'm estimating maybe 900 just on plugs. I'll spend like, the most I've done at once is like 200. And that's a lot, because I've seen people like plug their whole yard like in one go. And wow. I don't see how people do that. Hats off to them. I mean, if that's what you do, and I was just laid off for 2 months. I'm back at work now, but I would have liked to have had some plugs to mess around with during that 2 months. But you know, being on unemployment, I wasn't wanting to spend any money that wasn't necessary to spend. But it is what it is. We're back at work now. We're boosting the Zoysia plug economy once again. And totally got off on a tangent here, but yeah, it's been, you either spend a ton of money or you spend a lot of work. And I got a dream that maybe, see all this field back here between the houses, this is owned by the subdivision. No one, my property stops at the shed, but I can, like you see all these big fenced in yards there, they don't technically own all of that. That white fence right there, that's probably about as far back as their property goes. But the way the subdivision bylaws are, you pretty much like eminent domain. Like I could put my shed like halfway back and just kind of claim that it was my yard, and it's fine. As long as you're taking care of it, you pretty much have it as yours. I haven't done that because, you know, it's just more work. And they come and mow the backfield every now and then. But I got a vision one day, how long do you think it would take before the Zoysia takes over the whole backfield? I don't know, maybe it could be, what, like 50 years? Maybe I'll be dead, but maybe one day this whole back area will be Zoysia, and it will be like a whole different place where kids can play and you can ride bikes on it, whatever. Maybe one day. That's a vision of the distant future. I'm certainly not going to do it actively. I'll keep working on the backyard until it is on par with the front. I'm not going to hit it as hard as I hit the front. It's going to take years, as did the front, but you know, it's a lower priority. So yeah, that's Zoysia in a nutshell. I'm not crazy. I'm maybe a little bit, but okay. That's it for right now. I might mow and then show you a little after footage after a mow. They could use one. It looks really good after a mow. I've been cutting it a little too short, I think. Maybe I'm gonna knock the blade up one notch. It's fine, you can cut it super short if it's gonna be wet, but if you cut it super short and then it doesn't get water, that can be a problem. Start seeing brown spots. So, and it is supposed to rain a lot this coming week, but I think there's just no need to have it that short. I gave it a buzz cut at the end of last year, as you're supposed to do. You're supposed to cut it real short there at the end when it's going dormant, or after it is mostly dormant. You give it a buzz cut, and I just have neglected to raise the blade back up to a reasonable setting. But we've gotten away with it because we've had rain. All right, well, that's where we are. We'll check back with you guys later today or maybe tomorrow after a mow. All right, that's the cut. I'm exhausted. It's been a long day. Let's see how much better it looks when it's all even. I bumped the blade up one notch. It's not quite as short as it was on the other two cuts. We talked a minute ago about closing thoughts and like what we call weeds around here, and it's not worth mentioning, but I'm going to mention it anyways, that Johnson grass is not a native species. It's some sort of genetically engineered something that they made to stop erosion on like highway projects and stuff. So I hold no pity for Johnson grass. But like, and also talked about the Zoysia in many years down the road, maybe expanding into the backfield, and how nice that would be. But maybe I think it is worth mentioning that that field is like a bee habitat, and nothing's free, and there's nothing wrong with having like a wild meadow. I don't want a wild meadow in my front yard necessarily, but so yeah, that's where we are in 2020. Freshly cut. The weeds fought valiantly, but I think we won the war of the front. There's still other battles. Thank you everyone who's contributed to the conversation, and I'll probably do more videos. Like, they'll be more sparse for sure, but just in case I don't do more videos, I thought it would be nice to have a little discussion towards the end to talk about all the work and everything. So yeah, just once again, thanks everyone for tuning in, and especially people who have joined the conversation. I'm thinking about making a Zoysia subreddit that would be a more streamlined means for everyone to communicate and hang out. So yeah, I'll look for a link in the description of this video. It may or may not do that. I don't see why not though. So yeah, see you guys next time, maybe.
Our neighbors are getting some of the Zoysia. I don't think they're going to complain. Ooh. Feeling crappy.
Oh yeah, one more thing. When you're assessing your Zoysia, you got to do it barefoot, because you really connect with the grass and how it's doing. Like, the feel is a big part of that, and that's like one of the best and most rewarding aspects of having Zoysia. Is it's like having an outdoor shag carpet that you don't have to vacuum. Gotta mow it every once in a while.
You have to mow it.
What?
You have to mow it.
You gotta mow it every now and then. But at least you're not vacuuming.
And
right?
keep it out of my flowers.
Keep it out of flower beds. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. But these stones are just right on top of the ground. The Zoysia, it likes to go. I've spent like a half of a day getting it out of the flower bed this year already. That's what we put in the garden back there. I guess the only good news is you can reuse it elsewhere, but ideally I would take these stones and like turn them tallways and bury them, and then hopefully that would keep the Zoysia from going underneath it. That's the key, I think, is just the depth of the barrier. Like, this is no match for the Zoysia. We're gonna have to do something about that eventually.
Hey, you worked hard. You got it, most of it out of there, so.
Yeah, worked hard indeed. All right, well, once again, thank you guys, and maybe we'll see you over at the new hangout at Reddit.
But see, we